About a month ago, I did an article on a heat wave in the ocean. Well, that is still going on, and they said it is getting worse. So this came out September 25th, 2019 on NPR. Oceans are just getting hot and it's accelerating. I mean, so they are expecting thousands of sea life just being destroyed by this. So, as the world's climate change, ocean warming is accelerating and sea levels are rising more quickly, warns a new report by the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, remember, these ice sheets are melting, so the sea level is high. Plus, it's high from all of the rain. Remember, it was the Midwest that got all of that heavy rain that just swelled up the Mississippi River. And that ocean water, it is just rising and rising. So now they are saying the ocean surface temperatures have been warming steadily since 1970 for the past 25 years. So it's been going up from the 70s all the way up until now. Sea levels are also rising increasingly quickly due to increasing rates of ice loss from the Iceland and Arctic ice sheets, the report states. So they are saying that these ocean heat waves are definitely going to be a way of life. It's not going to go away, you know, and it's something they have been monitoring for the last few years. So they said we've actually had three major heat waves in the Gulf of Maine: 2012, 2016, and 2018. And now you can add 2019. And now we're looking at a repeat: heat waves in the northern Pacific. Australia had some repeat heat waves. So it's really becoming a part of the conversation. Yeah, I'm sure it is. So they said they are expecting all kinds of fishery disasters to happen. And I'm sure the price of fish, for those of you that are still eating it, is probably going to go up. It's going to definitely get more expensive as all of these ocean animals are dying off. So let me go ahead and play this audio from NPR.
The UN has released a new climate science report on oceans. Here are the headlines. Ice is melting everywhere and sea level rise is accelerating. The oceans are getting hotter faster. This is killing sea animals and disrupting fisheries. And there's also a relatively new problem: heat waves in the oceans. NPR's Rebecca Hersher has the story.
The report is a synthesis of everything we know about climate change in the oceans, so everyone's on the same page about what's happening. And what's happening, in the most basic terms, is that the oceans are getting a lot hotter. The rate of ocean warming has doubled since 1993, and marine heat waves are getting more frequent and intense. Haven't heard of marine heat waves? That's because they're new. Andrew Pershing is the chief scientific officer at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute.
It's sort of remarkable that prior to 2012, 2013, nobody kind of thought about heat waves in the ocean. And then in 2012, we had a huge event here in the Northwest Atlantic, and the Gulf of Maine was right at the center of it.
Just like a heat wave on land, the water near Maine got abnormally hot that year. Scientists had never seen anything like it, and it was happening in other places too.
It was a real surprise. And then subsequently, these kind of heat wave events have popped up all over the ocean. So we've actually had three major heat waves in the Gulf of Maine: 2012, 2016, and 2018. and repeat heat waves in the North Pacific. Australia's had some repeat heat waves. So it's really becoming a part of the conversation in oceanography.
Because they're so new, scientists still aren't able to predict ocean heat waves or say much about how long they'll last once they start. In fact, right now, there's a marine heat wave off the west coast of the U.S., where there's an area of abnormally hot water known as the blob.
How hot is it? So right now, it is up to 4 degrees Celsius above what we would normally expect.
Hilary Scannell studies marine heat waves at the University of Washington. 4 degrees Celsius is about 7 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than usual, a big enough difference where you'd notice it if you touched the water.
This patch of warm water is very unusual because it is so extreme and intense.
Which is bad news for the animals that live in that water. Noah Oppenheim is the executive director of the Pacific Coast Federation of Fishermen's Associations. He's also a former marine researcher.
The impacts to the ocean sort of cascade up through the food web, starting with plankton and into the krill, which form the prey base for animals as small as sardines, all the way up to salmon and then whales.
That cascade comes up in the new report. As oceans get hotter and marine heat waves get more intense, it knocks everything in the ocean out of equilibrium. That's already happened in the Pacific Northwest in recent years. Blobs of hot water there caused blooms of toxic algae, which meant the region's Dungeness crab fishery was closed for months. Salmon was also decimated. The federal government declared fishery disasters in 2016 and 2017. It's one of the many economic challenges that come with warmer oceans, in addition to the costs of dealing with sea level rise. And hotter oceans also affect the weather far from the coasts, contributing to droughts and driving bigger, wetter storms. Cutting greenhouse gas emissions dramatically will help with all of these effects, but slowly.
Even if we cut carbon emissions right now, we're still looking at 20 or 30 years of change. And so that means no matter what we do, we have to figure out how are we going to adapt to these changes.
Which will mean remaking the global economy, rebuilding infrastructure, and rethinking how we manage coastal communities. Rebecca Hersher, NPR News.
You know,
And now, more from NPR.
these are things they have absolutely no control over, y'all. No control. And like they said, this is going to get worse as we go on. Now, when it was 100 degrees in my area, they said at that same time the ocean temperature was 95 degrees in the Atlantic. 95 degrees. That was the ocean temperature. So, you know, that's going to impact, of course, it's going to impact ocean life. And I was also reading that when ocean temperatures are that hot, it's less oxygen in the water. So everything in the ocean is going to be impacted by this. Even your hard shell crabs and lobsters, everything is going to be impacted by this. You know, and these animals in the ocean don't do well in these hot waters like that. They don't do well. You know, we already seen die-offs happen before, but if this goes on from now on, you're going to see bigger die-offs and more accelerated die-offs going on across the earth, because this is worldwide. It's not just around here, it's worldwide. So things are changing rapidly on this earth. I don't think we're going to ever go back to the way things used to be. I really don't. And like I told y'all before, the heat waves that we're getting, I think they're going to ultimately be longer and even hotter as each year rolls by. You know, we had it, I think the longest one we had was 6 days. This past summer, 6 days. So I'm definitely anticipating everything to get hotter on this planet over these next few years. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.